Welcome, everyone. It's another edition of the Relationship Gumbo Podcast Live. I'm glad you're here. Replay viewers, we love you too. And what I want you to do is share and invite with your friends and family. We're going to have an amazing, impactful show tonight. I promise you, we have a special guest I'm going to introduce to you. And as you come in, just let me know you're here. And what I'm going to do for about 30 seconds is I'm going to check and make sure that everything is going where it needs to go. And then I'll be right back. So stay tuned.
Okay, everybody wants good love, that's true, I know. Derrick Jones about to break it down with the Relationship Gumbo. Welcome to the podcast. Ain't no doubt we all need this, ayy, cause better relationships need better ingredients, ayy. So if you want better relations, it's about communication, finding love, staying together. We all wanna make it better, yeah. Derrick Jones the host, your relationship coach. Thank you all for tuning in. Relationship Gumbo, ayy.
All right. So tonight, guys, I'm excited about tonight's show. First thing I want to do, this is secondly, share and invite with your friends and family. This is going to be a good show. And the first thing I wanted to say was, let me tell you where to get the podcast from. So you can listen to it. You can replay this video, or you can go listen to the audio podcast once I put it up. So this is where you go. You can go basically everywhere, guys. You can go to Apple, Spotify, Google Play. All you got to do is search for Relationship Gumbo Podcast, and it pops right up, and you can binge all the episodes. I think we're at 32, 32, 33. It's a lot of them now. It used to be, I'm happy about that. So what we're going to do is we're going to get right into it. Once again, I say welcome, and we are going to start the podcast. So this is what we're going to do. Since this is a live podcast for you first-time viewers, I'm going to pause for 3 seconds. I'm going to start the podcast. Feel free to ask questions and comment, and if they're pertinent to the discussion, I will address them. If not, I'm going to do the podcast, and at the end, I'm going to pause for another 3 seconds, and then we can speak freely if you guys have questions that you want to ask. So we're going to get started, so stay tuned. And welcome to another edition of the Relationship Gumbo Podcast. My name is Derrick Jones, and I am your host. I'm a life coach, an engineer, a strategist, and a mental health advocate. And also, guys, just a reminder, this May is Mental Health Awareness Month. And so, tonight's show is going to touch on some of that as well. But I do have an extra special guest tonight, and I'm going to bring her up. And tonight's title is, Do I Love Myself Enough to Be Loved? Right? And I know a lot of you guys probably saw that and was like, what does that mean? And what you really, just in short, because we're going to really go through this tonight and really go through the journey of my guest to show you exactly like the life cycle of how some of us, go through life. But sometimes, well, I would say mostly all the time, you need to have love for yourself and self-worth before you can even think about being into a relationship where you have to add somebody else in, right? So without further ado, let me put her up here on screen, and I'm going to introduce her. And so, guys, let me introduce to you Mrs. Because when I met her years ago, it wasn't Mrs. But I'm gonna tell you a little bit. Miss LaJuan Stribling. I had the fortune to have her be the care provider for my daughter when my daughter was, I think, 6 weeks. I think she was little, and she had a very big impact on her life. She came out smart after she left to go to preschool. So she was more than ready. And so I always appreciate you for that. And we've kind of kept in contact over the years. And I always try to bring people on the show that want to help others. So I'm going to let you kind of intro who you are and what you do, and then we're going to get into it.
Okay, I'm LaJuan Stribling, and I am a daycare provider, and I also am a bakery owner now. I'm a mom with 5 plus 1, so I have a stepson as well, and I have a lot of life experiences.
So let's get it. So this is what we're going to do, right, guys? please, I'm going to say this again. This is going to be some impactful information. I need you guys to share, and invite, because you're probably going to know someone, and it maybe even be you, that's going to hear something that they can connect with, and hopefully, at some point they'll realize that they need to change, that they need to seek help, all of the above. So the first thing we're going to talk to you about, LaJuan, is because this show is about loving yourself and having self-worth. There was a point in your life where you didn't feel, have that love for yourself or feeling worthy. Tell us a little bit about that period where it was kind of a dark place for you.
Oh, it was a period for a long while. I grew up in a difficult situation. I had one parent, so I didn't grow up with a mother, so I didn't have that motherly love to begin with, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so me wanting that was like a lifelong thing. Like I always wanted to feel a mother's love,
Mm-hmm.
And then as far as my father is concerned, I think just situations with him, how he was raised, kind of prevented him for showing emotion, or how men have to be strong. So
Yep.
it's different for a daughter to be raised that way because we need those emotions. As a female, you need that stuff. So for a long while, I felt it, like a long while, since I was a kid, honestly.
I'm sorry. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, so since I was a kid, that's when I started to feel it, but I didn't really know. I just knew I was wanting something that wasn't there.
Mm-hmm. So from that point, tell us a little bit about, like, from the point of not having, you didn't have a mom, you had a dad that was there kind of, but he didn't have the emotional stuff that you needed. So did that play out in how you dealt with like friends and maybe boyfriends or choices that you made?
It played out a lot. I didn't make good choices. And then it got worse because, the person that was supposed to be my protectant actually, stopped taking care of me at a young age. So I had to like fend for myself from 17,
Mm-hmm.
like it was hard. So at that point I really felt like no one loved me. I had family who weren't there to support me. Like, your aunts and your uncles, my grandmother, no one would let me come stay with them. So like, how you supposed to
Wow.
feel? These are
Yeah.
the people that you know all your life, but you don't have nowhere to go lay your head with these people. So
Right. And so did you during that time, did you even pursue having relationships with guys, or did you?
Of course. Well, the funny thing is, what started all with the thing with my father and I is that I had a boyfriend in high school, and
Mm-hmm.
he gave me that feeling, he gave me that love and care and stuff I needed. But come to find out, like after being with him for 2 years, I found out all the dirt that he was doing within that time frame, and you just ask yourself, like, how the hell is all this possible? Because you think
Mm-hmm.
that when you're free time, you guys are together. So how are you doing all this? Like when you have the time. So at that point, you just start to question and wonder about yourself. Like, well, what's
Mm-hmm.
wrong with me? I asked that question a long time. How come my mom's not around? Like, why? Why my father treat me this way? And then with the boyfriend thing, why are you just dogging me out like this? But I didn't see it in my face until I actually read it. You know what I'm saying? And at
Mm-hmm.
this time, there were no like cell phones and stuff. So literally, it was written on paper. So
Right. Yeah. And
it
so,
was hard.
yeah.
I definitely, it was like a cycle of bad boyfriends,
Yeah.
like a
Yeah.
long cycle of bad boyfriends.
And so, what I always talk about, even about myself, is when you deal with that cycle of having a bunch of bad relationships, and then the dynamics of how you had to deal with your parents and having to fend for yourself. I know, just because you're a human being, there had to be a point where you started to deal with some things psychologically, like maybe depression or anxiety or stress, all of the
Oh,
above.
yes, all of the above. Can I talk freely? Right.
Yeah, you can speak
Okay.
freely.
So, like all the above, I definitely had all of the stress, the anxiety, depression. I was sad all the time. I wore nothing but black. Y'all, black was my favorite color. I didn't like black. All I wore was
Right.
black. So, and this is when I was a teenager. I think it started maybe when I was like 14. I started to wear black. And I've always been like an introvert, so I've never been the type of person to want to be around a whole lot of people. Like I've always been kind of to myself, and I'm quiet in person. You know what I'm saying? Like
Mhm.
people really can't hear me if I'm talking loudly, so my voice is kind of small, right? So I don't even try to be loud like that. So I learned just to kind of like be comfortable, I guess, with myself because I was ended up being with myself all the time. But it was lonely, it
Mhm.
was very lonely. So that the cycle of bad boyfriends. But
Yeah.
what helped me actually, it was a former boyfriend of mine. His mother took me in. Well, before I got to that point, I actually had a schoolmate. Her grandmother took me in. Like that night that my father put me out, she let me stay there up until my friend got put out of school. So she had to go to a different school. And at this time, I was going to private school. So I was still making a way to get to private school every day because I was still just beginning my senior year in high school, right?
Mhm.
So she took me in and that was cool. But it was I had to leave there because I had no way to get to school. And so I went like a former boyfriend of mine, his mother took me in, but that was like y'all, it was straight like in Maryland projects. You know what I'm saying? Like in the
Mhm.
hood. But I'm not gonna complain because it's better than sleeping outside, right? I
Yep.
literally had a duffel bag with me. I had a red soccer duffel bag that went with me everywhere because that's all I had to belong
Mhm.
to me at that time. And they used to like smoke stuff, right? And I didn't know what it was since I was like in Bowie and went to private school all my life. So I didn't really know except for, you don't do drugs because that's all you feel all your life, don't do drugs and drugs. But once they did, they were like happy and laughing and just having a great time. I was like, well, shit, what is this? Can I get this children too? Like, I want to be happy. I don't want to be around here moping and sad and crying all the time because that's all I was doing, essentially, when no one was looking.
Right.
And so um, finally they let me try and I was like, wow, it was weed. So they finally let me try some weed and I was like, this is great. I can get shit done. Like, let's go. So that
Mhm.
kind of started my journey with weed and I finished school. Like it helped me go through school and just go through all the shit that I was dealing with, because it was a lot of shit. Like a lot of shit. Because I didn't get to stay there long. I mean, this was a lot.
Yeah.
It's a lot to deal with yourself at 17 and have nowhere to go. Yeah.
So my next question is, you're going through this period of time, this is like senior year high school, you get out of high school, you have this string of relationships, and then you enter into kind of being like a grown woman, right? And now you have kind of like you have these bad relationships, you have the parents that are kind of, they're not there, you're fending for yourself, you're dealing with depression probably at some point. So when you were, I would say maybe where you felt like you were kind of at your lowest point, tell us about how that felt like, just being in that place.
I was crying. Okay, so I had like a boyfriend who was a repeat boyfriend, right? And I didn't really want to be with him, but because I was settling, it was like someone I knew, and I didn't want to be alone, right? So I
Hmm.
thought, okay, well, let's just work it out. Plus, because I thought that I wasn't worthy of having anyone better than this, so this is what I'm going to take and deal with, right? But it was not good. Like I've never been in an abusive relationship. Let's get that off the top. Like, no, I've never been abused physically. Let me say that. But the mental abuse was there. Like as far as just being treated badly. You know what I'm saying? And when you're just crying so much, I had to look at myself and be like, what the fuck, Lamont? This can't be real. Like this can't be what life has to offer me. I've
Hmm.
cried enough already. Like who the fuck wants to continue to cry all their life? You know what I'm saying? So I had to just be like, this something has to change. Like like something just had to change. And
Right.
by the time this happened, I was well into my 20s. Like I was probably like 27 or 28 by this time. And
Right.
I've at this time I've been engaged 3 times, 3 times, but I never, got married. Well, no, I've been engaged twice by this time because the third one I married. That's my husband now. But so my husband now, but the 2 times before, the first person I probably should have married him. He probably would have been a great guy for me, but I wasn't like in love with him, you know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
So I just didn't. I wasn't the type of person to want to use you. You know what I'm saying? So I felt like if
Mhm.
I did that, it would have been a good place for me and my son. But I didn't want to do that to you because I'm not that
Right,
person. You know what I'm saying?
right.
So I didn't. Right. But that second one, I'm like, this is the point where I had to look at myself. Well, for one, I was abusing marijuana. Like I wasn't using marijuana for the purpose it meant to be used for, like how you know how I know how to use it now, right? But
Mhm.
then I was just to be numb. Just
Right.
numb the fuck out of me, right? I don't want to feel nothing. I just want to go about, my life just going about life,
Yeah,
raising my son, and that's that, right?
yeah.
But it came to a point where I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to be sad. I want to be happy. And so let's work on this. Let's figure out what I need to do
Mhm.
to fix this because
Right,
I don't want to live this way. I just got tired of it.
right,
I got tired of it, but you grow up and you see all these movies and all these relationships are so wonderful, right? So
right,
I'm like, where the fuck is my wonderful relationship? Because this shit right here is not wonderful.
right, right. Yeah, and that's the story of a lot of us. That hoping for the fairy tale, but then real life happens, and then you're like, wow. So, so, so from there was a point where you realized that you probably needed to maybe talk to somebody.
I did actually. Well, I Michael Bazin, I think, is the one who helped that out. I used to
Mhm.
listen to Michael Bazin all the time coming off of work.
Mhm.
And he used to just always talk about how you should be following your dreams and doing things that you love. And if it's not making you happy, then you need to do something about it. Whether it's go see a therapist, go talk to somebody, like just do something. And it was really those drives home that in my ear. And then, Erica Badu was my girl. So listening to her, like that bag lady,
Mhm.
that I was done with them bags. Like I had to do something. So I decided to go to therapy. Like real talk. I didn't want to go to a psychologist because I didn't want to get medicated, right? Um so I went to therapy, and at this point I was starting to like leave the weed alone because I wanted to just be like free and clear of everything and work on me.
Right.
So that's how that started. I went
So,
to therapy.
so just real quick to that point about making a decision to go to therapy for the listeners, because I know there's people out there that probably thought about it, or kind of scratching the surface, but they're not sure. I want you to let us know about how difficult it was to even take the step to go, or was it an easy transition for you? Did you battle with it before you actually decided to go?
Definitely, because you always hear it's bad in our community to go to therapy. So
Yeah.
I definitely battle with it. But I'm like, when you look at like I was able to, like, I grew up in an area where there was predominantly white people, also like Caucasian people after
Mhm.
we left out of DC. So when like they're always in therapy. I'm like, they go to
Right.
therapy for
Right.
everything. So I was like, well, shit, maybe I should try it. Oh, and then you know what? Intervention was coming on TV, right? Like
Hmm.
Intervention, the show on A&E. And I was like, well, shit, maybe I should try therapy. Like,
Yeah,
really, real talk.
that's cool. And this, so the point that I heard there, which the majority of my users are brown.
I know.
uh,
I hate saying brown white
so
too.
so so there's a key point here that I heard, right? And people need to really understand and listen to this. Seeing the Caucasians going to therapy and just being around them made you kind of get the sense that it might be okay to do. And
Right.
we know in our communities, we don't see that. So we feel like it's like this horrible thing. And my point I want to make is it's so many people out here that are going to get help, that are making transitions in their lives to do better things. And it's not this big scary thing. The scariest thing is for you to continue being the same person and doing the same
Right.
things. And they not the only ones that should be benefiting from the help, right? Because we see
Not at
what they
all.
have, we see what they're doing, and they're moving through society and doing all of this kind of stuff, and we're already at a deficit anyway. We have to take control of our destinies. We have to take control of our mental health and our mind and our peace so that we can be better for our kids and the generations
Right.
behind us. So
Exactly.
So I just wanted to make that point about you actually, because what if you didn't see those people? It might have been harder for you to, yeah. So just audience that are listening, that's the whole purpose of, and I know there's a lot of people out here doing things online too about mental health and therapy and all of that kind of stuff. But the whole purpose of this is to not let those people be the only ones that you see getting help. I want you to see LaJuan's face. I want you to see my face. I have, professional therapists come on here. Like I'm going to have one on here tomorrow, but I still also want you to see that there's real people out here dealing with real problems, and we look just like you, and we have problems just like you. And it's not this big scary thing. I want you guys to understand that if you need to talk to somebody, if you need help, it could be a family member that you trust. Start somewhere. Don't look at the whole culmination of your life. You might be like 40, you might be 30, and you're like, well, I got all of this stuff. You tackle it in chunks. If you try to tackle it all at once, you're never going to do it. So back to your story. You started going to therapy, right? That's where we left off. You made a decision to go to therapy, and tell us a couple of things that you learned about yourself from the therapy in order for you to make the transition into kind of loving yourself again, feeling worthy again, and all of those things that we want to be.
Okay, I want to go back just a little bit before we get to therapy. So just understand, like I grew up in private school, so like we went to Catholic church all the time, right? So all I knew was to pray quietly, right? Because that's what Catholics do. They don't praise loudly at all. Like they're quiet, and they sing folklore music. Okay, we don't get any gospel. So I didn't hear any of that growing up until I started to visit a church. You know how I started to love daycare. This is so funny. But when one of the ladies I used to work for when I was 18, she was a daycare provider. And that's how I got my love with kids and all that stuff. Started way when I was 18, just someone looking out for me. So she would take me to church with her. So my first experience going to a Baptist church was 18 years old, right? And I was like, wow, this is really different. Like, it was super different, right? But I've always like prayed. So my journey, like along my journey, I've always just prayed quietly, because that's all I learned how to do was to be quiet in my prayer, right? So I don't know how to praise outwardly. Just kind of be quiet in my prayer. So inside I would just pray. And I swear my prayers were not being answered, like at all. Like they were not being answered at all. So I was like, that's the whole black. Everything was just black. Okay, so my prayers ain't being answered. I don't really know my mother. My father was like an asshole. I love my sister, but she was a pain in my ass too. But just sibling shit, and everything was just dark and black, right? So when I finally decided to go to therapy, because it was my son, right? I had a kid. I had my child when I was like just before I turned 19 years old. All right. And I was repeating those behaviors like with him as far as the discipline and stuff was concerned. And it got to a point where I wasn't liking it. Like I really didn't like it either. So that also played part into me wanting to change things, because I felt like we should be able to communicate with each other. I will discipline you. I will put you on punishment. I will take things from you, but I don't feel good hitting you.
Right.
Like I don't feel good at all hitting you.
Right.
So, that's another thing that I had to also work through. So when I finally got to therapy and I started talking, I was always blaming me for everything. So the first thing that I had to learn was to stop blaming myself for things or how people treated me.
Right.
That's big, y'all. Like that is so big, because we're always saying, I'm sorry, or, oh, I'm sorry. Well, why are we sorry for how we are, right? This is how you were born. You shouldn't have to be sorry for that. And because how someone is treating you, it's not really your fault either, because that's their thing. That's their issue. And that's how they act. So that's something they have to deal with themselves, and you shouldn't put it on yourself. That was huge, because I was blaming myself for everything that happened to me.
Yeah. And
like,
And just, side note to that, when you blame yourself for everything, it kind of puts you mentally into like a dark space. I guess I don't even necessarily know what to call it, but if you blame yourself for everything, then that means that there's nothing good. If that's true, right? There's nothing good about you if you're the cause for everything. And if you start believing, you tell it to yourself enough, you start believing it. And then it starts to affect everything around you and how you react to things and your choices and everything else. And it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. And that's why like people, people that do affirmations all the time and meditate and do all these kind of things, because you have to put those positive thoughts in your brain so you don't start believing that hype.
Right. So that was one big thing. And I had to really sit with that, right? Because all my life I had been blaming myself. Like, and at this time, like I'm like 30 years old, I think, at this point. So remember, I started talking about 27, 28. So I didn't actually get to therapy until I was 30.
Right.
So, but I had to really sit with that. And then also exercise was big, like exercise. Like I'm a nature person. I absolutely love nature. And I wasn't doing that anymore. Like I was just work. Just, being a slave to corporate America, making sure I could, feed myself and my son. And I really stopped doing things that I loved. So I had to remember the things that I enjoyed and get back to doing those things that I enjoyed, like having time for me, because I wasn't doing anything for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
that's huge. Key point here, ladies and gentlemen, is find out what you love. And even if it's not, a huge part of your life, you got to have it be a part of your life, because you got to think about it. It's simple math. If most of your life you're doing stuff that you hate, then you don't have any happiness. In that once again affects everything around you. It affects your behavior. If you always, it's just like working a 9 to 5, right? And we know most people don't really love their job. They go there because they need to pay bills. So if you are always consumed with something that you don't like, and like, how everybody now, we have these side hustles and we have these things, and hopefully that thing you're doing on the side is something you love, then you can kind of balance it out a little bit. But when it's all negative, that's a bad place for you to be as a human being. I'm telling you guys, that's why I always say peace of mind over everything. You have to chase that peace. You have to maintain that peace and fight for that peace, because if you don't have it, then your kids, your family, you are destined to repeat history over and over and over again. So
yeah, it's so true.
So now you go to therapy. You had this string of bad relationships. So now we're going to transition into how you get to being a happily married wife and kids and all of that. Like at what point did you say, this is it right here, I'm ready? Or maybe you didn't think you were ready. Maybe it just happened.
I think it kind of just happened. But like I was doing the right thing. So I was listening to my therapist and, taking heed to what she was telling me, like actually doing the part, like actually doing the things that I should be doing to make me feel free. I had to free myself from all that negativity, like all the negative energy. I had to, like my father has never, we will probably never have that conversation, right? But what he did when my son was probably about like 6 months old, he decided he wanted to be a part of, our lives, slowly. Because that's his grandson. He had 2 daughters. So he finally has a boy in the family that has his last name. So I think that meant something to him, even though it didn't go the way he wanted it to go. I mean, he got a boy with his name to carry on now, right? So he helped me with the car. He started to do little things, what I'm saying, to like help me on my journey, but then I was still not loving myself, but the little things. So by the time I forgot where I was going with that, but by the time I think the healing part for me, like I noticed the actions versus listening to what someone says out their mouth. You know what I'm saying? Because people can say whatever they want to say out their mouth, but what are they actually doing? Right. So that was important for me to acknowledge that my father was trying, right? He didn't say it out of his mouth, but his actions were showing it. So that helped me with a little bit of healing, as far as maybe he does, love me and care for me. So that was big.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that was big. But then for me, the exercise, like the walking and stuff like that, enjoying nature, um, going back to the prayers, okay? So I always, because I was by myself, always asked to have a big family, right? Like I always
Mm-hmm.
wanted to have a big family. I was gonna have like the big mama house thing,
Mm-hmm.
Sunday dinners at my house, like all that stuff. I really, really wanted to have those things. But
Mm-hmm.
it was just like my son and I, through a string of bad relationships,
Mm-hmm.
it was still just my son and I. So I was like, well, shit, maybe I can't get pregnant. Even to the point that I went to the doctors to see what was going wrong. Like, because, I was trying to get pregnant. And they're like, well, you have to have like a surgery so they can remove scar tissue because I had a blockage. I was like, well, I ain't doing all that shit. So, like,
Mm-hmm.
whatever. I guess it's just going to be my son and I, right? Well, when I started to work on myself and heal myself, um, you know, you just start to feel good about you. You start to feel good again. And then I wasn't wearing black anymore. At that time, my favorite color had transitioned from black to lavender. So
Oh.
purple is like, yeah. So purple lavender is like one of my favorite colors. And like, yeah. So I saw the changes, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't even know how this started. Like, I was still dating. I still was dating the wrong type of person just because
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't trying to have like a relationship. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So I wanted to have like a boy toy, like someone to have fun with, but I didn't want to be serious about it because I wasn't ready for no serious relationship because I was still working on me and trying
Mm-hmm.
to get where I wanted to go in life. Because by this time I had already started the daycare. No, I didn't start daycare yet. No, I was still working at Enterprise, so I didn't start the daycare yet. But I started to think about, because I was listening to Michael Basin, what I wanted to do with my life again. So focusing
Mm-hmm.
on the things that I enjoy, things that I love, because I didn't want to be a slave to corporate America all my life. Because I can't sugarcoat anything, and they don't like that in
Mm-hmm.
corporate America. So
Right.
I knew it wasn't a place for me. Okay. Um, so that's kind of how everything just kind of started to happen. And so once I started to like feel free and
Mm-hmm.
release all the negativity and everything was just pleasant and try to think about all the positives versus focusing on the negative things,
Mm-hmm.
right? So I live still to this day that way. I don't let any negativity like come into my space. Even with
Mm-hmm.
my own children, I have a grown child, and when he's negative, you got to go.
Yeah.
And it's real talk, because I don't let it in my space, and I don't care who you are. I don't want it
Right.
around me, right? Because I did that already. Like I've already been there, so I've graduated to another place. Um, I don't know. Where do you want me to go now?
How do we get to Sam?
Oh, okay, how to get the same? So I've known him for a very long time. That's the crazy thing is, right? Because I've known him for a while, but I never actually like called him. I saw him a long time ago down Kennedy Street. I was taking my son to the barber shop. And so I had got his phone number that day, but I never called him, because he's younger than I am. Like
Mm-hmm.
he's younger than I am, but he was always
Mm-hmm.
fine. So I was like, I can't be robbing a cradle, so whatever. But then I saw him. I would see him all the time because my sister was dating his brother. So
Mm-hmm.
one time after, this is post therapy now. Post therapy, when I'm all feeling all great about myself and just having like a boy toy. Um, I saw him at my sister's house. It was for a fight night or something we had over there. And at this time, I wasn't partaking much in weed then. I was like drinking Grey Goose. I had kind of just started drinking Grey Goose a little bit. So I was like, all right. So when I saw, I was like, put your number in my phone. Do you know all this time I still had his phone number? Like he had the same phone number. So all this time I
Mm-hmm.
had his number, and we're talking about years had passed. Because by the time, this is probably 8 years, because that was my son was 5. So this one he's like 13, 12, or 13 now. So it's about 7, 8 years. But I never called him. So and I still didn't call him then. So that was the summer. That was like June or July of 2007. Yeah, that was like June or July 2007. So
Mm-hmm.
I finally started to talk to him like around September 2008, because the boy toy that I was not trying to be serious with, I ended up pregnant with his kid, right? But he was like crazy, like
Mm-hmm.
not mentally stable at all. And I tried everything to just not be like to have his attention, like, you know, blocking numbers and all that stuff because it got crazy. Like I didn't get physically attacked, but he attacked my vehicle. He was causing problems for me in my job. It just was a lot. And then I got really, really sick early in my pregnancy. So I had to go stay at my sister's house way out in Virginia. It just was a lot of stuff happening, like a lot of stuff happening. And so I was like, well, shit, I'm scrolling through my phone and who number I come across? I came across Sam, right? So I was like, well, let me send him a message, see how he doing. That's how it started. Like a text message from just me always having his number. And I finally texted him one day because I just wanted to have somebody to talk to. Because that's how that started. We would just have conversations, like text message, and then it got to the phone calls, and we just would talk. Like he realized was my friend. Like he became my friend. Just someone to talk to, like a confidant, because I was going through the craziness with my daughter's father, and he just was soothing to me. Like we would just talk about this stuff. We watched The Wire together over the phone. So he'd be at his work or his house, and I'd be at my house. And we just would be on the phone. You know, like that high school relationship type thing, just sit on the phone for no reason. It would be like that.
Yeah. So with that, now there's a part of you, I know that part of dealing with him, there was a you know, a part of where you guys are becoming friends, and you're you know, doing all of the stuff on the, you know, watching shows on the phone and all of that. There had to be a point in you as you move into like a full-blown relationship with him that probably was scared.
The whole thing was scary. Well, for one, I was pregnant. I mean, really? I'm pregnant with some other kid. I'm like another person's kid. So me even thinking about having a relationship was like, this is crazy. There's no way. So we just gonna talk and be friends. But like we built a relationship. You know what I'm saying? There was other stuff involved too that I don't really want to talk about that right now. But hold on. I gotta turn my car on. Can you hear that?
You're fine.
Okay. So it was a lot. So I don't know. We talked a lot about it because he had his reasons for not doing it either. I had reasons because, you know, again, I was pregnant with another person's kid. So when all that had happened, I mean, I don't know. We just kind of, I guess you say, fell in love, you know? It was like real natural.
Right.
It was natural and easy, and we got along. It wasn't anything hard about us.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. And then and now you got, like, you know, you were talking about a point where you didn't know if you could have a kid, and now now you have several.
I know, right? It's so crazy because so when that happened, I was like, okay, God, you're being real funny right now because now you know good and well I'm not trying to go like through this with like him, the person who I was pregnant by. But I was just so wild, like it was wild. I'm pregnant, like really, I'm pregnant, like wow, so I can get pregnant, and it was a lot. But
so you had twins.
I
And because I remember that, and I remember there was a moment where I was like, "So are you done?" And you was like, "I don't think so. I don't know. I don't think so. I'll be, you know, I'm still open." And I think if the people who are listening know part of her story where she said she always wanted to have a big family, you got your wish granted.
Right. When I said, but see, y'all, the prayers are coming through like crazy right now. This is what I'm trying to tell you, like. The blessings, I feel so blessed every single day. Like, I love my life. Like, I have kids, I have my husband, like all those things that I was praying for and wanting then when I wasn't straight mentally, it wasn't happening. So
Right.
I feel like, you know, I know my creator is watching over me because he has a plan for me, and I just have to follow through with his plan, right?
Right. And so here's the final point I'm going to make, and then we're going to wrap up. Listeners, key point. This is the major key point. This is the quotable of the night. She's not the only one that's been through stuff, right? We all got stuff we going through. But here's the key point in her story. And it's the story of a lot of us. And some of you guys aren't as far along in the story as she is today. But here's the key quotable of the night. She did not start to receive her blessings until she took the time to heal, until she took the time to have a clearer mind and to have more positive energy in her life. And then that's normally when things start happening for you, when you're able and willing to receive those blessings, because there's a lot of parts of our lives where we don't feel like we deserve it. Well, that's energy. If you feeling that negative energy of I'm not worthy, I don't deserve this, and there's no room for it to come in.
Yeah.
So her story is proof that therapy, healing, positive energy, taking time to love yourself and feeling worthy to receive the stuff, and things happen. It may not happen when you want it, right? And they say that all the time, but it happens when it's supposed to, right? So we're gonna wrap up. I thank you for sharing your story with us. I know that was, and just like I always tell people about myself, the more I talk about it, it's still like, even at this point, it's still therapeutic to just let it out. So what I want you to do as we close is I want you to tell people about your business and what you got going on, and I'll put up your information of how they can contact you, but just talk about what you're doing and what you got going on.
Okay, so another lifelong dream of mine was to have my own restaurant, something dealing with cooking and baking. So I actually finally started a bakery last year, and we're a year in now. So I'm really, really excited about that. I accomplished the daycare. That was another goal. I did that. So I started my daycare going on 12 years now. And so now the newest venture is our bakery, and this one is the baby, and I would love it to grow tremendously.
Right.
I believe everyone should taste some stribbles because they need them in their lives.
So the email address to reach her at, for the people that are listening to audio, is Stribble Treats, spelled STRIBBLETREATS @gmail.com. Tell people a little bit about a few of the things that you offer.
Oh, well, we're about to go into peach cobbler season, so peach cobbler's going to come up real soon. The apple cobblers, mostly all type of pies. Well, not all type of pies. My main pie and my favorite is the apple. It's just so delicious. I love it. I have amazing cookies. Everything is from scratch, homemade. Nothing is out of a box. I don't use gelatin for my banana pudding. Nothing. Everything is fully homemade, and then you feel and taste all the love in there.
And tell them a little.
The website up to now, Derek. Finally.
Say it again.
The website is up to now.
Okay. Did you want to share that with them, or should they just contact you?
You can. It's stribledistrict.com.
Okay, Stribble District. So that's STRIBBLE District, and then .com, and then you can see what she has there. So tell them about the other stuff that you do.
I also am a registered caregiver for the state of Maryland, so I do infusions as well. I also have CBD products that I make an oil for. It's great for people who would like to try other methods and using pills to handle maybe their stress, anxiety, and depression. CBD is wonderful for those who cannot partake in THC because it has all the qualities that THC provides you from the cannabis plant, but not the euphoria, so you will not touch anything.
Right. Cool. Well, we are going to let you go. Once again, I appreciate you for sharing your story. I'm sure that there's someone out there that was helped, and probably a lot of somebody out there that would help from hearing your story.
Yeah, I hope so. And please, y'all take heed to this information because it really, really helped me. Like I can't imagine still living the way I was doing.
Yeah. It's a journey. Like even at my age, there's still some things I'm realizing. But if you don't start on a journey of trying to figure out how to be better, do better, feel better, you're gonna be stuck. And so I'm gonna get a couple of these comments. Michelle Ford says, thank you for sharing. Alicia says, thank you for sharing, LaJuan. Natasha Davenport says, therapy can be good. So yeah, we are going to wrap this up. I'm gonna let you go. Thank you again. I appreciate you. We'll talk. We've been talking all this time. What has it been? more than 11 years now, probably.
Yeah, more than that.
Around 11.
Almost 12.
Yeah. So we're gonna let you go. Thank you. Everybody,
Thank you.
Well, stay for 1 second. Everybody on the podcast, we're wrapping it up. Thank you for listening. Make sure you go to www.relationshipgumbo.net and get all your life coaching, your merch, and everything that I'm doing is funneled through there, all of my social media. So make sure you check that out, and we're going to wrap it up. Have a great night. See you next week. All right, we're done that part. Anybody have any questions, comments before we let her go? I'm going to wait like a couple of minutes, and then we're going to get out of here. Thank you guys for listening. And this was a good show. Also, guys, tomorrow we have our men's panel on mental health again for part 2. And we are going to talk about Black men and men in general and how we deal with stress. And we're also going to talk about toxic masculinity. So it's going to be a great show. I have 5 other gentlemen. One of them is an actual licensed counselor. So he's there to provide context for that from a professional. But I just got some regular guys with regular stories and how we deal with stress, because it's something that we don't talk about and we don't share, and we keep it bottled up, and our families got to deal with us being like that. So we gotta get that in. So I don't see any questions here. So we're going to get out of here. I'm going to let LaJuan go. Thank you again. And I'm going to wrap it up for like another 60 seconds, and we're going to get out of here. Thanks again, LaJuan.
You're welcome. Thank you. Y'all take care.
So, guys, great. This was a good show. Thank you guys for listening. Make sure you share and invite. Replay viewers, make sure you share and invite. And we are going to get out of here. So, again, I thank you. I appreciate you. And we will see you tomorrow for the men's panel. Make sure you come back for that. That one's going to be amazing. And that's all I got. Have a great evening.
Okay, everybody wants good love, that's true, I know. Derrick Jones about to break it down with the relationship gumbo. Welcome to the podcast. Ain't no doubt we all need this, ayy, cause better relationships need better ingredients, ayy. So if you want better relations, it's about communication, finding love, staying together. We all wanna make it better, yeah. Derrick Jones, the host, your relationship coach. Thank you all for tuning in. Relationship gumbo.